I still remember the first morning I truly saw them. Not just the faint little lines I'd noticed in passing, but deep, undeniable wrinkles framing my eyes and mouth. They weren't there yesterday, or maybe they were, and I had just refused to notice. That day, my reflection didn't feel like me. It felt like an announcement to the world that I was aging, and worse, that my best years were behind me. For weeks, I avoided mirrors. I would step out of photos with my friends, always making some excuse. I started wearing oversized sunglasses indoors just to hide my face. In my mind, every conversation I had was interrupted by an imaginary voice saying, "She's really showing her age." And when you already feel invisible as a woman past 60, those lines can feel like the final push into obscurity. I tried everything the internet promised: expensive creams, odd home remedies, hiding behind makeup that only seemed to settle into the lines I was trying to erase. Nothing made me feel like myself again. Worse, I began to realize I wasn't just fighting wrinkles. I was fighting the idea that I could still be beautiful, visible, and relevant after 60. Then something happened that I never expected. A moment, small at first, completely shifted the way I saw myself. And that moment didn't just change me. It ended up being seen by millions of people. It's the reason I'm sitting here telling you this story today, because here's the truth. Wrinkles aren't the end of beauty, confidence, or style. They can be the beginning of something far more powerful, if you know how to work with them instead of against them. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I went from hiding my face to loving it so much that strangers across the world couldn't stop talking about me. But first, let's start with the most important step of all, the one that changes everything before a single product, hairstyle, or outfit ever touches your body. Accepting yourself first. Before I could change my style, my skincare, or even my mindset about aging, I had to do something I had avoided for years. I had to stand in front of the mirror and face myself. Really face myself. Not the edited version in old photos, not the younger me in my mind, but the woman standing there right now, with every wrinkle, every freckle, every mark that told the story of my life. At first, it was uncomfortable. I wanted to flinch, to look away, to focus on every so-called flaw. But then I asked myself, why am I treating my own face like an enemy? These lines around my eyes. They came from decades of laughing so hard I couldn't breathe, the faint crease between my brows. That was from the nights I stayed up worrying about my children, my family, my future. My skin wasn't ruined, it was a living scrapbook of the life I had fought for and loved. The truth is, no amount of anti-aging skincare or luxury fashion over 60 will make you feel beautiful if you are silently rejecting the woman in the mirror. The most elegant women I've ever met carry an ease about themselves that comes from self-acceptance. They don't apologize for their age, they own it. So, I started a small ritual. Every morning, I would look in the mirror and say out loud, "This is me, and I am worth being seen." At first, it felt silly, but over time, something shifted. My posture straightened. My smile became real again. I stopped tugging at my sleeves to hide my arms, and I walked into rooms without scanning for a corner to disappear into. Accepting yourself doesn't mean you give up on improving your appearance. It means you improve it from a place of love, not desperation. And that difference shows. People can feel it when you walk by. They notice the confidence before they notice the clothes. Because here's the secret: the mirror reflects how you see yourself far more than it reflects how you look. And once I made peace with that woman in the glass, I was ready to discover a style that celebrated her instead of hiding her. Finding your personal style. Once I began to accept the woman in the mirror, something beautiful happened. I felt curious again. I no longer dressed just to hide my age. I wanted to explore who I could become at this stage in life, and that curiosity became the doorway to finding my personal style. For years, I wore what I thought would make me look younger. That meant clinging to trends designed for women half my age, hoping they would magically erase the number on my birthday cake. But here's the thing, when you chase youth in your clothes, you often end up looking like you're chasing something you've already outgrown. The elegance of luxury fashion over 60 isn't about pretending to be 30 again. It's about wearing pieces that honor the woman you are today. I started by editing my closet. Anything that made me tug, adjust, or question myself went into a donation bag. I focused on fabrics that felt as good as they looked, silk that moved with me, linen that breathed on warm days, wool that wrapped me like a gentle hug. I paid attention to colors that brought light to my skin and made my eyes brighter. Jewel tones became my new best friends, while overly harsh blacks gave way to softer charcoals, deep navies, and creamy ivories. Then came the silhouettes. I learned that a great cut could do more for me than any shapewear. A-line skirts that skimmed over my hips, tailored blazers that created shape without feeling restrictive, wide-leg trousers that made me look both taller and more relaxed. I embraced statement accessories, a bold necklace, a silk scarf, a structured handbag, because they drew the eye to my style, not my insecurities. And here's what surprised me most. When I wore clothes that felt authentically me, people responded differently. Strangers stopped to compliment my outfit, friends asked where I was shopping, and even my posture changed. Fashion wasn't just about looking good, it became a daily act of self-expression. This journey taught me something powerful. Elegant outfits for mature women aren't a formula. They're a reflection of your personality, your lifestyle, and your confidence. The more your clothes tell your story, the more magnetic you become. But as much as clothing transformed the way I felt, there was still one more piece to the puzzle, something that framed my face and could instantly lift my entire look. And that was my hair. Because the right hairstyle, especially for women over 60, isn't just about beauty. It's about creating a frame for the life you've lived and the confidence you carry today. Hairstyles and hair care that turn back the clock. Hair is more than just hair, it's the frame around your face, the first thing people notice before they even realize what you're wearing. And for women over 60, the right hairstyle can make the difference between looking tired and looking effortlessly radiant. For years, I kept my hair in the same style I'd worn since my 40s. I thought it was safe, but in reality, it was aging me. It was heavy, flat, and didn't move with me. One afternoon, I finally booked an appointment with a stylist who specialized in hairstyles for women over 60. She didn't just look at my hair, she studied my bone structure, my skin tone, and even my personal style. That was when I realized hair isn't just about length or color, it's about harmony. We decided on a cut that lifted my face, with layers to add movement and softness. Those layers brought back a lightness I didn't even know I was missing. And then came color. I'd been fighting my grays for years, touching up roots every few weeks. But my stylist suggested blending the silver into my natural shade with subtle highlights. The result, instead of looking covered up, my hair looked alive, like it belonged to me again. Hair care also became non-negotiable. I swapped harsh shampoos for nourishing formulas designed for mature hair. Weekly deep conditioning treatments brought back shine and strength, while a heat protectant saved me from the damage I'd unknowingly been causing for years. And here's a little secret. Volume isn't just about products, it's about scalp health. Gentle massages while shampooing made a bigger difference than I expected. The change was more than physical. Every time I caught my reflection, I saw a woman who looked awake, vibrant, and ready to step out into the world. Compliments started pouring in, not about how I looked younger, but about how I looked happier. And isn't that the real goal? But hair and style can only do so much if your skin tells another story. The truth is, your face is your most visible accessory, and the way you care for it can completely transform how you feel about yourself, which is why the next step in my journey was building an anti-aging skincare routine that worked with my skin, not against it, and it was far simpler than I ever imagined. An anti-aging skincare routine that works. For the longest time, my bathroom cabinet looked like a beauty store clearance bin. Half-used jars, bottles I bought on impulse, and products I couldn't even remember trying. I was chasing miracles, hoping one cream would erase years overnight. But here's the truth I learned. Anti-aging skincare doesn't have to be complicated to be effective. In fact, the simpler my routine became, the better my skin looked. The turning point came when I finally saw a dermatologist who specialized in skincare for mature skin. She told me something that stuck with me. Your skin is alive. Treat it with consistency, not punishment. That meant no more scrubbing my face raw or layering 5 serums every night in desperation. Instead, I needed to focus on 3 things: cleansing, nourishing, and protecting. Step 1 was switching to a gentle, hydrating cleanser that removed makeup and impurities without stripping away natural oils. Mature skin needs moisture to stay plump, and I'd been unknowingly drying mine out for years. Step 2 was all about nourishment. I invested in a quality serum with hyaluronic acid for hydration, paired with a retinol product to help boost cell turnover. Retinol can sound intimidating, but when used correctly, it softens fine lines and brightens skin tone over time. For me, it became the quiet hero of my routine. Step 3 was protection, every single day. And yes, that means sunscreen, even when it's cloudy or I'm mostly indoors. My dermatologist reminded me that sun exposure is the #1 cause of premature aging. Wearing SPF daily became non-negotiable, right up there with brushing my teeth. Within weeks, I noticed my skin feeling softer, looking more even-toned and, most importantly, glowing in a way it hadn't in years. It wasn't about erasing every wrinkle. It was about giving my skin the care it deserved so it could reflect the life and energy I still felt inside. And something unexpected happened. Once I stopped obsessing over perfect skin and started focusing on healthy skin, I felt more comfortable in my own face. I wore less makeup, and when I did wear it, it looked better because it was enhancing, not hiding. But as much as skincare changed my confidence, there was one step left that would turn everything I had learned into something unforgettable. A moment that would take me from quietly feeling good about myself to having my story seen by millions. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation doesn't happen in the mirror. It happens when you share your truth with the world. The power of sharing your story. When I first started feeling more confident in my skin, hair, and style, I thought my journey was complete. I felt better about myself than I had in years. But there was a quiet voice in the back of my mind whispering, "What if you told someone else? What if your story could help another woman feel this way too?" At first I resisted. Who would care about a woman in her 60s talking about wrinkles and fashion? Social media, I thought, was for the young. It wasn't my space. But one rainy afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of tea, I opened my phone camera. I spoke honestly about how ashamed I'd once been of my wrinkles, how I avoided mirrors, and how small changes transformed my confidence. I didn't filter the video, I didn't script it, I just told the truth. I almost didn't post it, but something in me knew it was time. So I pressed upload, closed my phone, and went about my day. By the next morning, my notifications were flooding in. Thousands of women had seen the video. Comments poured in from women all over the world. "This is exactly how I've been feeling. I thought I was the only one. You've inspired me to finally try something new." The views kept climbing, hundreds of thousands, then millions. I realized something important. Vulnerability is magnetic. People connect more deeply to honesty than to perfection. My story didn't go viral because I looked flawless. It went viral because I was willing to show that I wasn't, and that it was still possible to feel beautiful. That experience gave me a new mission. Sharing my journey wasn't just about style or skincare. It was about giving other women permission to embrace their own. Whether they were 60, 70, or beyond, they saw that it was never too late to feel confident, vibrant, and visible again. And that led me to the final, most unexpected lesson I've learned in this entire transformation. Those wrinkles I once tried so hard to hide. They've become my signature, the part of me that makes me unforgettable, which is exactly what we'll talk about next. How to turn what you once saw as a flaw into your most beautiful and powerful feature. Turning wrinkles into your signature. For most of my life, I saw my wrinkles as proof of everything I'd lost. Youth, smooth skin, the so-called freshness that the beauty industry tells us is the gold standard. But over time, and especially after sharing my story with millions, I began to see them differently. One day, I was out shopping when a woman stopped me. She was in her 70s with striking silver hair and the kind of presence that made you turn your head. She said, "I recognized you from your video. Your smile is beautiful, and your wrinkles tell me you've lived a life worth noticing." That sentence stayed with me. It was the first time anyone had linked my wrinkles to something positive, something aspirational. I realized then these lines are not just signs of aging, they are my history. The laugh lines show the joy I've felt, the little creases around my mouth. They're from the endless conversations, the late night talks, the words of love I've spoken. Even the deeper lines on my forehead reflect the moments I've cared deeply about others. They're proof that I've lived, not just existed. From that moment on, I stopped trying to erase them. Instead, I began styling myself in ways that highlighted the life in my face. Soft, luminous makeup that let my skin breathe. Clothing in colors that warmed my complexion. Hairstyles that brought light to my eyes. The goal was never to hide, it was to celebrate. And here's something I learned that might surprise you. When you stop apologizing for a feature, people stop seeing it as a flaw. They see it as part of your signature. Think of it as your personal logo, completely unique, instantly recognizable, and impossible to replicate. The more I embraced my wrinkles, the more other women told me they were rethinking their own. What I once saw as the end of beauty became the most authentic expression of it. And that's the truth I want you to carry with you. You don't need to fight every sign of age to be stunning. Sometimes the very things you've been hiding are the ones that make you unforgettable. Which brings us to the end of this journey, but also the beginning of yours. Let's wrap this up with the lessons I've learned and how you can start your own transformation today. Conclusion. From shame to signature. When I look back at the woman who used to avoid mirrors, hide in photographs, and buy clothes only to cover herself up, I barely recognize her. Not because my skin is smoother or my wardrobe is better, though both have changed, but because of the way I carry myself now. This journey wasn't about chasing youth. It was about reclaiming visibility, dignity, and joy at a stage in life when society often tells women to fade quietly into the background. Accepting myself was the foundation. Finding a personal style gave me the tools. Choosing a hairstyle that framed my face brought my confidence forward. A simple, consistent anti-aging skincare routine nurtured my skin instead of punishing it. And sharing my story reminded me that beauty is as much about connection as it is about appearance. The biggest transformation didn't happen in my face, it happened in my mindset. I stopped trying to hide the signs of my life and started treating them as proof of my strength, resilience, and individuality. And in doing so, I discovered a deeper kind of beauty, one that doesn't fade with age but grows richer with every passing year. If you take anything from my story, let it be this: your age is not a limit, it's a credential. You've earned your presence, your style, your place in every room you walk into. You don't need permission to feel radiant. You only need to decide that you are worth being seen. So start where you are. Try a color you've been afraid to wear. Book the haircut you've been curious about. Invest in products that make your skin feel loved. And if you feel brave enough, share your journey. You never know who you might inspire. Because I was once ashamed of my wrinkles, And now, they're the reason my story went viral. And if I can make peace with them, and even celebrate them, so can you. In my next video, I'll share 10 elegant outfit formulas that will make you look polished, confident, and effortlessly chic at any age. I hope you'll join me there.